Hey everyone, welcome back to the Statistical Trader YouTube channel. Diamond with you here, and today I want to rant. It's gonna be a short rant video. Let's go. Okay, so I want to talk about stop loss and how my perspective on stop loss has changed very recently, and how that actually caused me to be a lot more profitable in my trading. So I think that stop loss is a false truth in most of the cases. I don't have a lot to back up my statement here. I'm gonna try to explain a little bit what I mean, but it's basically just my experience, and it might be related very specifically to my discretionary trading style that I'm just trading discretionary for fun, but because I have all of these algorithms doing the systematic approach for me, so discretionary is just a fun thing for me to do, and it helps me get ideas for algorithms. So it might be related to this approach that I'm taking on my trading, and it might not be good for everyone. I'm not saying, hey, throw out your stop losses, but it's just something to consider. Because if you observe, if you just step back 10 years in time, 20 years in time, maybe 10 is not enough, maybe step back 20 years in time, trading was a completely different profession than it is right now. If you wanted to become a trader, you would go to a normal seminar, you would go and buy books. If you want to place a trade, most likely you will, either not really have a brokerage connection or internet, 20 somewhat years ago. So you will have to call up your broker, ask for them to place a trade for you. All of these things, this is a very different landscape from what we have right now. So traders, when they were starting out back then, they were getting different information than we are getting right now. And right now there's an overload of information out there when it comes to trading. And naturally, when people start out, they go, start trading without too much knowledge, without too much research. They put on a few trades, maybe they make some money, they get very cocky, they put on more trades, and eventually, inevitably, they will lose some money, maybe large amount, maybe not large amount, but that loss is going to definitely shake them, because that's not what they expected after a few winning trades. So when that happens, the natural reaction is, hey, I need to learn something more about the markets. I have managed to make some money without having a good knowledge about it. If I do get a good knowledge about it, I'm gonna be so much better, right? So they go into the internets and they start surfing, and then they find all sorts of webinars and classes and algorithms and strategies and whatever. And something you have to understand is that most people in the trading realm that are selling you something or teaching you how to trade, they are doing it because they either cannot trade themselves, or because they are incredibly good marketers and they make their money from doing that. If they're a good trader, they're most likely going to say, hey, give me your money, I'm going to trade your money, I'm going to manage your money, I'm not going to teach you how to trade, right? So it's not always like that, but in most cases it is. So now when these people go, and these new traders, we all been through it. I am included in that realm as well. So when we go through this, rite of passage of searching for information, we all land in the same realm of the overload of information. But what it has in common is, you always hear this number, 80%, 90% of traders, they're always losing money. I don't know how much true it is to that, but it is, it's a large percentage, definitely. And when you think about the fundamentals of it, if the large amount of traders is using money and they are all going through the same, jumping through the same hoops in order to become traders, that raises some questions. Hey, are those hoops that I'm jumping through really worth jumping through? So if you see every single strategy you buy, every single information is going to be like, you enter your trade like that, and your stop loss is here, and so on and so forth. And if you dare tell anybody that you trade without a stop loss, you're a freaking crazy person, and you are bound to ruin. Your risk of ruin is over 100%, and you're just an idiot. And that has not been my experience. So what's my beef with stop loss? My beef with stop loss is, I think it's a false truth that everyone is taught from the get-go. There are numbers of ways where you can limit your risk without actually having a stop loss. Stop losses don't necessarily protect you in most markets, apart from maybe Forex or cryptocurrencies, but that's also probably not necessarily truth in there as well, because they have different nuances. They don't really protect you from these huge moves down, from these huge losses. And from my experience, all of the systematic trading approaches that I have taken, whether it's a trailing stop loss, whether it's just a fixed stop loss, whenever you add in a stop loss to your strategy, that usually doesn't help in terms of returns, in terms of drawdown sizes. So all of this having in mind, plus my experience trading without stop losses, I do put on stop losses in some weird cases, or maybe when I'm like really, I see like oh no, if it goes down there, I definitely don't want to be in a trade. And if I put on a stop loss as well, I will make sure I'm not going to put it in like the normal place where everyone does it, because that's another beef. If I put a stop loss, everyone's stop losses will be there. I have made a video about stop collecting a few probably months back, so you can check that out as well. Stop collecting is real. That's how you get, tricked and manipulated by the big boys, and I just don't want to be in that realm, right? So even if I'm not gonna basically trade such a large position that if it goes a little bit against me, it's gonna ruin me. I'm not gonna trade on margin for that, that huge amount. I mean, even for stocks, you do overnight, you're gonna get 2x as best. So that's not, that's not gonna do anything for me. So. And even if I take on a position of whatever size, say 10% of my account, if I'm feeling crazy, I can handle a 10% loss if the company goes bankrupt overnight, which is never going to happen. Well, I mean, it might, but even if it does, take a look at what happened with Hertz. They declared bankruptcy and their stock rallied up 400% because of Robinhood traders, right? So that's another thing. So I don't want to be in the realm with the 80% of traders that are losing. I don't want to be manipulated. So if I'm going to be placing a stop, I'm going to be placing it in a very way too far from the actual place I would want to be stopped at. I'm going to be placing a stop that is not a simple stop, that is probably a limit stop or something like that, where it's going to, I'm going to try to get a better fill after I'm stopped out. I'm going to try to hide my stops. I'm going to try to close out on bar closes manually or automatically instead of actually placing a stop, just because in most cases I will get a better fill. So these are the things what I don't want with my stops. And what I experienced even if I place a stop loss order, so that happened with Beyond Meat, which actually caused me probably like $5,000 to be made. I was in a long position and I got convinced, I got convinced by a third party to place a stop loss, because playing without a stop loss is too risky, right? And for whatever reason I listened. So I placed a stop loss in a position where I saw, okay, everyone's stop is going to be here. This is the support. If it goes here and it crosses below and then some, then it's really going to be a false play and I really don't want to be in it. So what I did was I placed my stop so far out. It was a huge stop, but hey, I want to limit risk, right? So, because if it crashes like that, I have seen Beyond Meat crash like that, it's probably going to continue on. What happened? I was filled for my stop loss at the very bottom of a tail. And then the very next week, Beyond Meat rallied, I think around like 40%. And that was so horrible to see. And I naturally, when I got the fill for the stop loss, I will not re-enter the trade even if I see it's going with me. It's just psychological. I don't want to be whipsawed. I don't want that part of me to even play in my discretionary trading. So I'm just, hey, fuck it. I made a mistake. I got stopped out, and I'm not gonna play anymore. So I just had to sit there and watch how I got stopped at the very worst place possible, and my stock then rally 40% over a few nights. Okay, and lastly, let me discuss this. So there are, as I said, there are ways you can hedge. So I hedge my positions with options. I do all sorts of various plays where I might take off a little bit to make it a free trade or something like that, or just reduce my risk if it's positive. I sometimes get free options completely to hedge against my position. So there's ways you can limit your risk, and even if I don't do that, I'm not ever in such a risky position that I'm gonna get screwed if the company goes bankrupt. But let me discuss one more thing. Stop loss is not gonna protect you against the large moves that will happen. Because if you're playing stocks, if you're trading stocks, the largest moves that will hurt the worst will happen overnight, because there's least liquidity overnight. Most news happen after hours, and the biggest moves, there are gap moves in stock world, right? And I trade stocks, so stop loss doesn't work outside of market hours. Yeah, I don't know if you knew that, but it doesn't. So what you're gonna get then is, you're gonna go to bed thinking, oh, I'm protected and my risk is only $1,000 or only $200 on this trade or whatever. And then you get up in the morning and you see that the stock has capped down 30% and your stop was, say, at 2 or 5%, and you have all of this 25 to 28% happiness to be happy about, while you all of the time were protected with a stop loss. So these are the cases that hurt the most. And these are the cases that you will not be protected by having a stop loss. By having a stop loss, you will probably be stopped out more than you need to on an actually good trade. And yeah, that's my beef with stops. I just don't like stops, and ever since I stopped using them, I have improved my trading like number of times. Not just like, oh hey, yeah, it's 10% better returns. No, that's not the case. It's like crazy better, and profitability ratings are better, and everything is across the board better. That's only for me, but I just wanted to rant about stop losses because I want to spark an idea. If you want to be a profitable or successful trader, you need to start thinking outside of the box that 80% of the losers have shoved their heads into. So stop loss is, I believe, to be a false truth in most cases. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.